I'm tired of playing my favorite tabletop RPGs as one of the old boring races. I don't want those generic, store-brand backstories. I want to roll a character with a bit more character. Well, Roll for Combat is here to help with their incredible new book, Battle Zoo Ancestry's Classic Creatures, which gives you the power to create the character of your dreams. Dig into 12 unique playable monster races in this beautifully printed, massive, hard-cover book filled with in-depth descriptions, abilities, lore, and more. Send that dusty old dwarf right back to the mines and live out your isekai fantasy by becoming an actual intelligent weapon that you wield yourself. Or you could let a friend grab you instead. Teamwork. Put that elf back on the shelf and become a sentient dungeon, complete with traps, treasures, and a living avatar. You could even put an end to the age of man and become a shape-shifting mimic. You know, those things that gave you trust issues ever since you were eaten by one in Dark Souls? Ooh, that could be you. Click the link below or head on over to battlezoo.com to secure your copy of Battle Zoo Ancestry's Classic Creatures today and become the life of your adventuring party.
They did announce when all the D&D books are coming out. And what's fascinating is that, if you remember during PAX Unplugged, there was a leak. And they said that the Player's Handbook was supposed to come out on May 21st. And Eye of Vecna was supposed to come out on May 21st.
And then you had an insider who was saying that they were doing enough final steps on the Vecna that it was very clear that Vecna was going to come out in May. And that was why you were always saying that it's all going to come out in May, because the leak was very credible. Whereas I was saying that may be true, but like where they were in the playtest, it didn't look like they could get the Player's Handbook out by May at all.
Completely right. You're completely right.
And you were right about your Vecna leak was correct. Because Vecna is coming out on the date that they said, but the Player's Handbook isn't coming out until much later, September, right? In November for the game, Dungeon Master, and then next year, the 20. They're going to have to rename it from the 2024 update if part of it is in 2025, I guess.
Well, no, they're not. Well, this is what happened. They have the Making of D&D. That's coming out on June 18th, which was the same date that was leaked. Quest of Infinite Staircase coming out on July 16th, which is the same date that was leaked. So every single leaked date is the same date they announced, by the way. I am positive that the handbook was supposed to come out. The Player's Handbook was supposed to come out on May 21st. I'm positive it was. I'm positive it's been pre-printed in significant amounts. They pre-printed the signatures, they pre-printed the covers, they pre-printed a lot of this. I'm positive they have. I wouldn't even be surprised if there was a demo copy of Gamma when I go to Gamma in 2 weeks. I wouldn't even be surprised. I have a feeling that either A, they definitely wanted a little bit more time. B, which people are saying is that, well, there's AI art in there they need to get rid of. I doubt that one highly, because I hate to break it to you, Eye of Vecna quests and Making of D&D, those were printed last summer. So if there is any AI art, it's too late, because those books are done.
And that's not why they delayed it.
No, that's
not because of AI art.
No.
I mean, you just look at where they were at on the playtest. You look at where the design cycle was.
Yeah.
And I even said this. I was saying, if they really do put it out then in some cases, they either would have had to not be actually listening to people's playtests, and they've said that they are, and I believe that they were, or they would have had to lay out some parts of it and left certain parts unlocked and then paid extra to the printer to change it at the last minute.
It's weird.
That's why I thought it was potentially going to get delayed. Or they were going to do something weird like that. And so, like, it makes sense they needed extra time on these things. May was always a very unusual time to get all of them out.
But look at this. They have so they're going to conventions. They're going to GaryCon, going to PAX East, they're going to ALA, San Diego Comic-Con, Gen Con, PAX West, Game Hall, Big Bet. Like, they have an entire con season, which they never list, by the way, because they never go to conventions. So they're going to conventions. They have booths at some of these conventions. So what are they going to have? Because I think they were planning on going to these conventions and selling the Player's Handbook and selling these adventures, because they have everything was coming out May, June, July. I have a feeling they were supposed to come out with everything by Christmas this year and have a box set. And I'm going to tell you a secret why, because I actually know something. Are you ready?
Okay.
All right. Is anyone listening? Is it just us chickens? All right, are you ready? This is inside dirt that I know. I'm not supposed to tell anyone, but I'm going to tell you.
Why are you telling us if you're not supposed to?
Because I don't follow the rules. I'm a rule breaker. And actually, it's an opinion of mine, and I think I might have said this on the stream.
Wait, so it's not an inside dirt; it's just an opinion.
No, I'm just saying that so I don't get in trouble. It's inside dirt too.
Informed dirt.
It's inside dirt that I believe is 99% true, and I might have mentioned this on the stream before. I think I did, so it's not super, but. So there's a thing. You have to tell your books. You have to list your books 9 to 6 months ahead of time.
Yeah, that's not inside dirt. That's a well-known thing about the solicitation phase on books. We've talked about it, yeah.
That's not what I was getting at. But what's the solicitation phase for a game?
It's different, right? It's less than a book.
6 weeks.
Yeah.
And if you categorize your product as a game rather than the book, guess what? They can't return it. Games can't be returned. Books are returnable. So if I sell Walmart 1,000 books and they only sell 100 books, they're going to send me back 900 books and then I have to credit them. If I sell them 1,000 games, they keep those games forever. What they do with them is not my problem. The other thing is I make a much higher percentage on games than I do on books. On books, you only make about 35-40%. A game, you can make 50, 55, even 60% on a game. So why do you think they've been making these box sets and making all these like boxes that look like games now? What you do is you put your player's handbook, your DM's guide, and your monster manual into a box set. You sell it to these companies with only 6 weeks lead time. You don't need 6 months, just 6 weeks.
As a game?
As a game. Category game. These are actually...
It is a game, so it's not like deceptive
no,
that
it's
a game.
Legal. Completely legal. In fact, I'll tell you why you don't do this. Okay, now we're really getting deep in the weeds. If you are selling a book and you bring it from overseas, there's no tariffs on books. Okay? So if I bring books, wrong. There's no tariffs on games. So games are excluded from tariffs. But books have, I think, like a 15% tariff on them. So if you print a book overseas and then bring it into this country, you have to pay a 15% tariff in the United States. Which just gets passed on to the consumer. But if you categorize your product as a game, and these are actually worldwide categories, like you actually have categories for this, there's no tariff. It's 0. So guess what everyone categorizes all their books as whenever they bring them into the United States from China? They're games.
Game?
Oh yeah, of course they're games, because they are games. You're not lying. They're books, but they're games. They're actually considered. They are games. I mean, they're not like a board game, but they are considered games. So what I think Hasbro is going to be doing is to make more money. And one of the reasons they got rid of Penguin is that they do have their own game distribution network already in house. They actually already have one. So what they're going to do is that they're going to recategorize these as games, sell them in rather than just like loose books. They're going to sell them in box sets. They'll be able to do it with less lead time. They only need 6 weeks instead of 6 months, and they make a higher percentage of profits, and they can't be returned. How about that for inside dirt? Have I told anyone that yet?
I don't think you've given all those details.
So that's some like crazy inside baseball, but I bet you that's what they're going to do. And it's really not
possible.
It's not that far-fetched.
It makes sense to get something out before the holiday season just anyway. I'm sure they would have loved to have all 3 of them out by then if they could, just because people want to buy something for their family member on the holidays.
Mm-hmm. And also, if you look at the box of many things, the deck of many things, that came in a box. And I can look it up. I'd be curious. I bet you that's sold as a game and not a book. And again, it's a big deal because if you sell it as a game, it can't be returned and they get a higher profit. They get a much higher profit margin, like much higher profit margin. And considering how many books and how many games that Hasbro sells, if they sell 1 million copies and they're making an extra 20%, 25%, that's massive. And that's a huge increase in sales. Now the other thing is they can easily do this because Barnes and Nobles have game sections now. Like maybe 10 years ago, this probably wasn't an option. Did they even have a game section? Maybe. I don't think so. Or at least they did. It wasn't that big. Now you go to Barnes and Noble, there's a huge game section. Anyhow, there's my inside dirt that I think they're gonna do.